Alright, so welcome to the sales-driven sites methodology explanation. So many businesses at the moment are building new websites, or they have an existing website, and unfortunately most of them just have a brochure website. So it's basically a site that people go to, and it shows you where your business is, tells you about a few services, but that's about all. But what's happened is, over the last 4 or 5 years, online marketing and digital marketing has really transformed the landscape on how small and medium businesses can actually generate new leads and get new clients. And what's happened is most web developers have not moved along with those enhancements and improvements. They're still building websites that they used to build 10 years ago, which is a brochure website. But what you need to build today is a sales-driven website. And a sales-driven website is a website which really sole purpose is to generate leads for your business. And if you want a site that's sales-driven, that generates leads, you have to have features within that website that promote lead generation. And that's what today's video is about. I want to show you the sales-driven sites methodology, and this is the method that we use to build a new website for a client that generates leads. Doesn't just look pretty, but actually goes to work and works really hard for the client. And so you can see here that there's kind of like 9 steps that we go through to build a sales driven site. So let's go through them very quickly as a brief overview. So the first step here you can see is the 3P formula. It's the first thing we do. And actually, before we start that, I just want to tell you that there's 3 components here. There's the message, there's the platform, and finally there's the capture. And these are really important because there's 3 components that make up a sales-driven website. And the first one is the message that you put out there on the site is very important because that allows you to then capture the contents of the right prospect. And then obviously in the middle is the platform. This is where most web designers start, with a platform, but really it's kind of the second thing you need to get through. So the first thing you need to do in the message component is the 3P formula. So the 3P formula is really about understanding who is your prospect, what is their pain, and finally, what's the promise. And every page on your website should identify or call out your prospect, highlight their pain point, and finally make a promise. Okay, and that promise will be a call to action to say, look, if this is your pain point and you are this prospect, then sign up for this, or take the next step, or call us and we'll help you solve the pain point. And unfortunately most websites don't do that. They don't talk about the prospect and their pain point. They really talk about the business services and how great they are and how many people love them. But people don't care about your business. What they want to know is, can you solve my pain? So the next thing you do is, once you know who your prospect is and their pain point, you then need to create 3 offers. And these 3 offers are for 3 types of people that come to your website. The first is a whole bunch of people will come, and most of them will be cold. Then you'll have warm visitors, and finally you'll have hot visitors. And so the cold visitors are people who have landed on your website for the first time, but they have no idea who you are. They don't know, they don't like, and they don't trust you. The warm visitors are people who have maybe liked your page on Facebook, or clicked on an ad, or they've signed up for some sort of offer before, and they like you, they know you, they think you're a good fit for them, but they're not actually ready to call you. So that's a warm offer you need to create for them. And finally, there's the hot prospects. These people know, like, and trust you, and they're ready to buy. And so you might have, the offer there might be, submit your details for a quote, or call us straight away. That's the hot offer. The warm offer might be something like a webinar where they have to interact with you a bit more, but they don't have to speak to you, or a video series. They have to give you more time to consume the information, but they're not quite ready to talk to you. That's a warm offer. And finally, the cold offer is for someone who doesn't know you and they've come to your website. They're not ready to call you. They don't want to sit on a webinar. They don't want to watch videos, but they are willing to exchange their details for some information that might help them along their journey. So those 3 types of offers need to be on every page of your website, or at least one of them per page. The next step is conversion copy, which is right here. And now what we do here is we take the information from the 3P formula, the prospect, pain, and promise, and we actually convert that into words on every page that help convert a visitor to a lead. And so it's very important that the words on your website are probably the most powerful tool. It's probably the most developed part of the website. Most people, they look at the design, they think that's important, and they just throw the words on after. But what you should be doing first is writing the copy, because the copy will convert. People will read that and they'll either decide to sign up or they'll decide to walk away from the website. And there's a great quote by Wyatt Woodsmall, and he says, if you can articulate someone's problem better than they can, they'll automatically and unconsciously credit you with having the solution. And so that's what you want to do here. You want to articulate the person's pain point better than they can, and if you can do that properly, then over here in your copy, they will read it and they will take the next step. Now after that is the conversion optimized design. Now most web designers focus on design, and design is actually the last thing you really care about with your website, because there's so many other features. You can see it's only 1 of 9. But the design element, it's not really about how pretty the site looks. I've seen really ugly sites that convert well, and I've seen really beautiful sites that don't convert. It's really about how do you remove all the information off the site, all the design assets off the site that distract, and only put on what's relevant for someone to be able to read your copy and then take the next step. And that's where design becomes very important in your website development. And then the next step really is setting up your website. And so I just want to tell you that 30% of the internet runs on WordPress. WordPress enables you to add marketing features, very powerful marketing features to your website using something called plugins. They're very inexpensive. If you were to build this functionality yourself, it will cost you thousands, but it might cost you $40 to buy it as a plugin. And so very quickly, WordPress is what you should build your website on, not Weebly, not Squarespace, not Wix, WordPress. And then once you've built your site, you need to incorporate your funnel into your website. So if you've heard of funnels, marketing funnels, sales funnels, ClickFunnels, what you want to do is build the funnel into your website. So if you have a great offer that's working on Facebook, incorporate that back into the website so anyone else who comes to your website can go through that funnel. Now, ClickFunnels and Lead Pages, all these apps will tell you, no, you don't need a website. You just build it on our platform, and that's all you need. And that's not great advice, because as a small to medium business, your website is actually extremely important. It is the face of your company. So the funnel should be built on your website, and you should be using WordPress, and WordPress will build you a much better funnel and easier to build using WordPress as opposed to using something like ClickFunnels or Lead Pages. And so a sales-driven site is built on WordPress, and your funnel's built in. And then now we really get to the capture section, which is the whole purpose of this whole site. It's about capturing information from visitors, capturing their contact details. And the best way to capture the contact details of someone that comes to your site is with a lead magnet. Now, that could be an ebook, it could be a video series, it could be a webinar, it could be an infographic. There's so many different types of lead magnets, but the purpose of a lead magnet is to capture the contact details. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of what this whole site's about. It's about capturing details so your salespeople or you can call or follow up or email to actually move someone along the sales pipeline. So that's what the lead magnet's for. And so typically what happens is as soon as they submit their details, an email will get sent to you. And that will have the details, and then you can do what you like, and that comes from your website. Your website, a sales-driven site, will capture the details and email the contact details or put the contact details into your CRM or your marketing automation system. The next thing a sales-driven website does is has automated email follow-up. And so it's really important that any person who submits their details on your website, whether it's a contact form or a quote form or a lead magnet, that they then get a series of emails over the next 2 or 3 weeks that does 2 things. One, it builds trust and it builds credibility and it educates them, and then it moves them to the next stage. It says, hey, here's some information that will help you make your decision, and if that really helps, why don't you give us a call, or why don't you submit your contact details for a quote. And so this is an automated process. So this is what most websites don't have. They don't have a lead magnet and they don't have automated follow-up. And so these two are really what's going to turn your website into a sales-driven website. And then finally, retargeting. So think about this. If anyone comes, just say you've got your website here, 97% of the people who come to your website will leave and never return. Okay, there's so many options, there's so many different types of sites out there, and a lot of times they don't return because they don't know how to get back. They've forgotten how they got there. And so what you do is you retarget anyone who has come to your website. So anyone who lands on your website, you can then retarget them on Facebook. And retargeting means you can show them out on Facebook, on Instagram, and on the Google display networks. These are all the news sites and websites, millions of them around the internet that Google can show ads on. And so what happens is if anyone comes to your website, then over, for example, the next 7 days, you can show them ads to get them back to your website. So it really goes into a loop like this. They go to your website, they leave and they don't sign up for your lead magnet here. So then you show them an ad to get them back. And so basically here, they come to your website, they don't sign up, you retarget them to get them back to the lead magnet. And you keep showing them ads and follow them around the internet until they sign up. Now this is really important because these people who come to your website and leave, the 97% that leave, are actually hot prospects. Why would they come to your website? Well, they're coming because they've done a search and they have a requirement for your business. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just wandered on there for no reason. So if 97% are leaving, what you want to do is get them straight back. These are your hot prospects. And it's really inexpensive to show these retargeting ads because you're not showing the ads to everyone. You're showing them just to the people who have visited your website. So it's very cost effective and it's very, very powerful. And so I guess what I want to say to you is this sales-driven sites methodology is so important. If you don't have any of these features, then you need to install them into your website. So the sales-driven sites methodology is something that very few web designers are doing because they're designers, they're not marketers. What we are marketers who try to build sites that actually generate leads for businesses, and this is how you do it. So if you have any questions at all, book in a strategy session with us. You'll see there's a button somewhere on the page where you can book it in. You'll book a time in my calendar and I can continue this conversation with you on the importance of turning your website into a sales-driven site.